Do you think power protects you from humiliation? Picture this. A black CEO, dressed sharply, sitting in first class, a man who owns stakes in companies worth billions. Yet today, none of that matters. Today, he's about to face something no money, no status, no title can shield him from. A system that sees only what it wants to see. If you're drawn to stories where injustice burns, where power flips the script, and where revenge comes not with fists, but with strategy, subscribe now. Don't miss the moments where the tables turn and the game belongs to the underestimated. First class. Seat 1B. Marcus Ayers leans back slightly, his navy blue tailored suit hugging his frame perfectly, polished cufflinks glinting under the soft cabin lights. The cabin hums with quiet luxury, the delicate clink of crystal glasses, the faint rustle of designer newspapers, the low murmur of polite conversation. Marcus holds a sleek tablet in his hands, skimming through high-stakes emails, closing multi-million-dollar deals without a hint of stress. To the world, Marcus is untouchable, a billionaire magnate, head of the Ayers Global Group, the man whose signature can shift entire markets. But in the next few minutes, all of that will mean nothing. As the flight attendant, Vanessa Crane, approaches, his seat Marcus barely glances up. He's used to excellent service after all. But there's something in her posture. A stiffness, a flicker of hesitation in her eyes. She leans down just slightly. "Excuse me, sir," she says softly, almost too softly. "But this seat is usually reserved." Marcus frowns. "Reserved? I booked this ticket weeks ago. Platinum Crown member." He flashes his elite card, the glint of its embossed logo unmistakable. "Yes, of course, sir," Vanessa replies quickly, her smile tight. "It's just that Mr. Sterling usually occupies this seat every Tuesday. He's a long-standing client." Marcus feels the shift in the air. He tilts his head calmly. "I'm sure Mr. Sterling has his own booking, and I have mine." Vanessa hesitates, the smile slipping for a moment. She nods stiffly and walks away, but Marcus can feel the eyes, not just hers, the other passengers, the crew whispering in the galley. Something's brewing, and it's not the champagne. Minutes later, the supervisor arrives, Darren Polk, name tag gleaming, face set in polite determination. "Mr. Ayers," he begins, "we've had a situation with your booking. There's a concern from management." Marcus keeps his voice steady. "There's no situation. My boarding pass, my ID, my status, all in order." Darren exchanges a glance with Vanessa. "I'm afraid we're going to have to ask you to change seats." Now Marcus sets the tablet down. No. The word is quiet, but final. The kind of no that comes from years of commanding boardrooms, negotiating with governments, closing deals, that reshape industries. But here, at 35,000 feet, none of that seems to matter. Suddenly, two uniformed security personnel appear at Darren's side. Passengers turn, curious. Whispers rise. Marcus feels the shift, the cold thread of disbelief running through his chest. He rises slowly, dignity intact, even as hands gently, but firmly, guide him toward the aisle. As he's led down the cabin, past rows of wide-eyed passengers, Marcus feels it. The weight of assumptions, the quiet violence of a system that doesn't care who he is. To them today, he's just a black man in the wrong seat. But here's what they don't know. Marcus Ayers never forgets. They escort him into a holding room near the gate. Logan Meyer, the operations manager, steps in, clipboard in hand. "Sir, your ticket was flagged in our system. Possible fraud." Marcus breathes in slowly. He presents the receipts, the confirmation emails, the matching ID. There's no fraud, no error, only a manufactured problem. But it doesn't matter. When he's finally allowed back on board, they don't take him to first class. They walk him down, all the way to the back. Seat 38C, middle row, near the bathrooms. No window, no apology. As he sinks into the cramped seat, knees brushing against the tray table, Marcus opens the in-flight meal handed to him. His eyes narrow. On the plastic lid, scrawled in black marker, are the words, "Sensitive passenger, African American." He pulls out his phone, takes a photo, and tucks it away. The anger is there, simmering just beneath the surface. But Marcus Ayers knows better than to lash out here. Because what no one on this plane realizes, not Vanessa, not Darren, not Logan, is that Marcus Ayers is not just another wealthy passenger. He is the majority investor in Solaris Air. And this isn't the end of the story, it's just the beginning. Inside a restricted office at the airport, the air feels colder, the walls a sterile white, the smell of stale coffee and stress lingering in the corners. Marcus Ayers sits, his hands calmly folded on the table, the faintest clench in his jaw, the only betrayal of his simmering anger. His tailored navy blue suit, sharp lines and crisp fabric, seems almost out of place in this bland, windowless room. Across from him, Logan Meyer enters, the operations manager, clipboard clutched like a shield, his eyes flicking nervously between Marcus and the two security officers standing stiffly near the door. "Mr. Ayers," Logan starts, voice thin and wavering. "There's been a flag on your ticket. The system marked it as possible fraud." Marcus arches a single eyebrow, his dark eyes sharp, calculating. "Possible fraud? Do you understand who you're speaking to?" "I hold receipts, confirmation emails, a Platinum Crown membership older than your career, and a personal assistant who has already verified this booking twice." Logan fumbles with the clipboard, glancing at the papers without really seeing them. "Yes, sir, I can see that, but the system—" Marcus leans forward slightly, his voice dropping, silk and steel. "The system doesn't make decisions. People do. So tell me, Logan, is this you? Or is this someone else hiding behind a screen?" The silence that follows is heavy, suffocating. Marcus lets it hang there, feeling the weight settle on Logan's shoulders. He watches the manager squirm, watches the excuses tangle up behind his eyes. But Marcus already knows how this ends. After what feels like an eternity, Logan mumbles, something about procedure, about needing more time, and steps out. Marcus remains perfectly still, his back straight, his hands steady. His mind, however, is already racing, pulling threads, connecting dots, calculating the cost of what they're doing. Eventually they let him go. No apology, no explanation, no acknowledgement of the insult. Instead, he's led back through the terminal, flanked by security, eyes burning into his back as they walk. He boards again, shoulders squared, chin lifted, knowing exactly what's waiting. They don't guide him to his original seat. They don't offer compensation, don't murmur reassurances. They march him all the way to the back, to seat 38C, the middle seat, crushed between two strangers, right next to the constant shuffle of the bathroom line. No window, no leg room, no dignity. Marcus lowers himself into the narrow seat with careful precision, folding his long frame into the tight space, feeling every press of the armrests, every jostle from the passengers beside him. He smooths his jacket, adjusts his cuffs, forces his face into a mask of cool indifference. But inside, the fire roars. Then comes the final insult. As the flight attendant moves down the aisle, handing out the in-flight meals, Marcus accepts his tray without a word. He lowers his gaze, and there it is, scrawled across the plastic lid in black marker. "Sensitive passenger, African American." The words hit him like a slap. not because they surprise him, no. Marcus Ayers has lived long enough, fought through enough to know exactly what the world sees when it looks at him, but because of the audacity. Because they thought they could do this quietly, subtly, and he would just accept it. He takes out his phone, slowly, deliberately. He photographs the label, the tray, the seat number. He records the faces of the staff who glance quickly away, pretending not to notice. He saves every detail, filing it away in the iron vault of his memory. Because Marcus Ayers didn't build an empire by letting things go. As the engines hum, as the cabin lights dim, Marcus sits still, eyes closed, breathing slow and even. But behind that stillness, his mind is already working, already unraveling every thread. He's picturing the boardrooms, the shareholders, the executive teams who will soon be called to account. He's picturing the headlines, the public statements, the forced apologies. And he knows, without a shadow of a doubt, they have no idea who they've provoked. They think they've silenced him, but they've only armed him. Because this flight isn't the end of the line. It's just the beginning. And by the time they realize the scale of their mistake, it will already be too late. The plane touches down with a soft thud, tires screeching briefly against the tarmac as the aircraft rolls toward its gate. Passengers stir, stretching limbs, powering on phones, eager to leave. But Marcus Ayers remains still, his eyes focused, on the back of the seat in front of him, his breath measured, his mind sharper than ever. They think this is over, that the black man they humiliated has accepted his place, swallowed his pride, gone home with his tail between his legs. They think they can file this under minor inconvenience and move on. They don't know Marcus Ayers. As the plane doors open and the passengers file out, Marcus rises calmly, gathering his things with meticulous precision. Every movement is deliberate, controlled. He steps into the terminal, phone already in hand, and dials a private line. "Rachel," he says quietly, "activate Phase 1. No further explanation is needed." Rachel knows what Phase 1 means. A $150 million internal review program Marcus designed months ago, sitting quietly on the books, waiting for the right trigger. This is that trigger. By the time Marcus reaches the car waiting for him, an entire team is already at work. Emails flagged, personnel files pulled, incident reports analyzed. Rachel and her team move like a silent machine, sifting through every detail with surgical precision. Marcus arrives not at his home, not at his office, but at the towering glass headquarters of Solaris Air. His keycard grants him access through every security door, every private elevator. He steps onto the executive floor like a shadow, bypassing stunned assistants and pale-faced managers, who suddenly realize that the man they mishandled on that flight is the man who holds 28% of the company's voting power. Inside the boardroom, the executive team is already gathering. Bryce Langston, the CEO, Claudia Reed, the CFO, Nathan Hale, the Chief of Operations. Their faces are tight, their eyes wary. "Marcus," Bryce starts, rising uncertainly. "We heard there was an incident." Marcus's gaze pins him in place. "Sit down." The words are calm, soft even, but they slice through the room like a blade. Bryce sinks back into his chair. "I want the names," Marcus says evenly. "Vanessa Crane, Darren Polk, Logan Meyer, anyone else involved. I want them suspended immediately pending investigation." "Marcus, wait." "No." The room falls silent. "You will follow protocol," Marcus continues. "You will issue a formal apology, both to me and publicly, addressing the systemic failures that led to this incident, and you will authorize Phase 1 today." "Marcus, that program will cost us." "I don't care." The authority in his voice is absolute. There is no room for negotiation, no space for resistance. This wasn't a confrontation. This was a reckoning, long overdue. "You should understand something," Marcus says softly, his eyes sweeping across the table. "This wasn't just about me. This was about a culture you've allowed to fester. One where status, money, loyalty mean nothing if you look a certain way." He leans forward slightly. "I built this empire alongside you. I protected it. I invested in it. And today, it showed me exactly how little that meant." The executives shift uncomfortably, glancing at one another. "You're not just saving face, Bryce," Marcus murmurs. "You're saving the future of this company. Because if you don't, if you hesitate, if you delay, if you try to sweep this under the rug, I will dismantle everything I helped build." The threat isn't loud, it isn't angry, but it lands with the force of a wrecking ball, and they know he means it. As the boardroom falls into a tense, stunned silence, Marcus rises, adjusting his cuffs with calm precision. "This isn't about revenge," he says softly, his voice carrying just enough steel. "This is about change." He walks out, leaving the executives to scramble in his wake. By the time the press release hits the newswires hours later, announcing a sweeping internal review, public apologies, and suspensions, Marcus is already 10 steps ahead, planning the next phase. Not because he enjoys the destruction, but because he knows real change only comes when you force the system to look at itself. They thought they could break him, but Marcus Ayers was never the one in danger. They were. Night settles over the city like a heavy curtain, casting long shadows against the towering glass of Solaris Air's headquarters. Inside his penthouse office, Marcus Ayers stands alone, gazing out over the skyline. The lights below flicker like stars, cold and distant. He doesn't smile. He doesn't sigh with relief. He simply watches, because victory, Marcus knows, is never clean. Behind him, his phone buzzes softly on the desk. Updates from Rachel, reports from legal, news coverage spinning out across social media and television. The world is already reacting. Public outrage, calls for accountability, hashtags trending, anchors dissecting every detail of the scandal. Solaris Air has gone from industry darling to public villain in less than a day. And Marcus? Marcus has become something else entirely. He walks slowly to the desk, picks up the phone, and scrolls through the flood of messages. Apologies from Bryce, statements from the board, offers from civil rights organizations, from activists, from journalists hungry for a statement. He answers none of them, because Marcus Ayers didn't do this for applause. He did it because it was time. Outside, the city hums on, unaware of the quiet revolution taking place behind these glass walls. Marcus thinks back to the moment on the plane, the plastic meal tray, the scrawled words that branded him, reduced him, exposed the raw underbelly of a system he had once thought he'd outgrown. "This wasn't an accident," he murmurs softly, to no one. The words echo in the empty room. He remembers every look, every whispered conversation, every step down that narrow aisle, the weight of centuries pressing onto his shoulders, reminding him that no amount of wealth or success could erase what the world still saw when they looked at him. But Marcus is done carrying that weight alone. He taps a folder on his desk, a thick, meticulously prepared dossier labeled Phase 2. This isn't just about Solaris Air anymore. This is about the partnerships, the vendors, the allies who turned a blind eye, who enabled the culture, who profited from the silence. Change, Marcus knows, doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens when you pull the rot up by its roots. He runs, a hand over his face, exhaustion bleeding through the edges of his resolve. He knows the fight ahead will be long, brutal, costly. He knows the media will turn on him eventually. The board will push back. The old guard will whisper behind closed doors. Let them. He didn't come this far to play it safe. He thinks of the passengers on that flight. The ones who turned away. The ones who watched and said nothing. The ones who whispered but never spoke up. He wonders if they'll remember his face when they see the headlines, when they read the statements, when they realize the man they dismissed was the one reshaping the very company they trusted. This isn't about revenge, he reminds himself, quietly. This is about truth. He sits down at the desk, fingers hovering over the keyboard, drafting the next set of directives. Not just suspensions, but mandatory training, structural audits, community investments, real, tangible change. Because Marcus knows you can't buy respect, can't demand it, can't force it through sheer power, but you can build it, brick by brick, policy by policy, action by action. He types slowly, deliberately, every word a stone laid on the path forward. Outside, the city waits. Inside, Marcus Ayers moves quietly, methodically, reshaping not just a company, but a legacy. They thought they could break him. They thought they could humiliate him into silence. Some storms don't announce themselves with thunder. They arrive in silence and leave nothing untouched. Marcus Ayers was never just a passenger. He was the storm waiting on the horizon, and now he's here. Character count. No spaces. 3345. Do you crave stories where pain doesn't just linger? It transforms. Where injustice doesn't have the final word, and the underestimated rise from the shadows to reshape the game entirely? If you're drawn to narratives that aren't just about revenge but about rebuilding, where scars become strength, where silence becomes strategy, where humiliation becomes the spark for historic change, then you found your place here. This channel is not just a collection of stories. It's a vault of emotional journeys designed to shake you, to wake something inside you, to remind you that the darkest moments often carry the seeds of the most powerful transformations. Here, we explore the raw, the painful, the uncomfortable, but we never stop there. We go further into the heart of what it means to rise after the fall, to reclaim your place, and to leave the world watching. We don't just tell tales of survival. We tell tales of reckoning. We dive into moments when people are pushed to the edge, humiliated, dismissed, crushed. And we show you what happens when they refuse to stay there, when they rise, not just to reclaim their dignity, but to change the very system that tried to break them. These are stories of grit, of cold calculation, of elegant vengeance, of power reclaimed and redirected toward something bigger. If Marcus Ayers' journey moved you, if you felt the cold burn of betrayal, the sting of injustice, the weight of being underestimated despite everything you've built, you already know there are more stories like his. Stories that will make you ache, make you angry, make you hopeful. Stories that reveal the quiet, unyielding power of those the world too often overlooks. So don't just watch, become part of this journey. Hit subscribe right now. Activate the notification bell so you never miss a moment. Because here, every video is crafted to challenge you, to pull you into a world where power is questioned, injustice is exposed, and the game gets flipped in ways no one saw coming. This is for the fighters, the thinkers, the dreamers, the ones who know that real power isn't loud. It's strategic, quiet, unstoppable. It's for those who know that some victories aren't won on battlefields but in boardrooms, in quiet decisions, in the relentless commitment to reshape the future. Some storms don't announce themselves with thunder. They arrive in silence and leave nothing untouched. Subscribe now. Join a community that knows the real victory isn't just surviving, it's transforming. Together, let's follow the storms, walk through the fires, and emerge stronger, smarter, and ready to rewrite the rules. This isn't just content, it's a movement,